Welcome back to Strong, Happy, Healthy, Loved, Season 2. Today we've got a very special guest, Damian Porter. Damian Porter is a former New Zealand SAS Commando from D Squadron, a former Australian police officer, and the man widely known as the How Not to Die guy. Damian has spent over 2 decades operating at the sharp end, from counter-terrorism and hostage rescue to the frontline policing. And now he dedicates his life to teaching everyday people how to stay alive and to perform at a high level in this chaotic world. He works with everyday people, from mums to dads to the elderly, through to elite fighters and government agencies, translating special forces experience into practical real-life skills that actually work. He's also the host of Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, where he interviews high performers from around the world on mindset, discipline, health, and resilience. Damian's mission is simple: stop bad people doing bad things to good people and helping others live safer, stronger, high-performance lives. Damian, welcome to the show. And just going on, I was just speaking before, it's a bit of a small world, and I told one of my mates that I interviewed just recently that I'm doing a podcast with Damian, and he goes, "Oh, I know him. I worked with him," and he had really good, nice things to say. And the person I was speaking to was in the podcast that we've just seen lately, Dudley Andrews. So the small world, definitely. So thanks heaps, Damian, for coming on. We might as well start right from the start. Former New Zealand SAS Commando D Squadron. So, and
Yeah,
then, police officer in Western Australia after that. So we'll start off slow and we'll go from there, mate. Yeah,
you're awesome.
thanks.
Look, thanks for having me on. It's a real honor to be able to speak to be even asked to speak about what I do. Duds is a great guy, phenomenal to watch his story, and also very sad with some things that happened there. But he's the epitome of a happy, strong, loving life, and you've even had some friends, Brooke Strahan, on the show earlier. So it's
Oh,
a
well,
nice community of good people, I think.
yeah. Oh, you know her as well. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, good stuff. And so we might as well start at the start. What was your background before you went into the forces, Damien?
So I was one of the first personal trainers in the world at Les Mills in New Zealand. We started personal training in 1991, I believe. That was franchise personal training. They actually took it around the world. They went to 172 countries and took their aerobics classes and their one-on-one personal training. And I was Mr. Pan Pacific bodybuilding champion, I think, and I got asked to be a PT. Went on from there, and then about 27 years old, I was training a guy, a university student who was air quotes in the army, and he turned out to be in the territorials, which is the reserve units here. And I was 27, and I thought I was way too old because I thought you joined up when you came out of school. That was what you did. That was your career back in the day. And he said, "No, you can join up anytime," and that's what I did before I joined the army, and that was my impetus into the military life at around about 27 years old.
Yeah, well, that's really cool hearing from people that are joined that sort of 10 years after. I was 17 when I joined, so it's nice to hear that because I suppose at that age too, you've got a bit of a different view on what life's like on Civilian Street before you joined as well. And you must be pretty proud. There's some pretty good achievements there, and I actually remember Les Mills from when I was a young fella living in New Zealand. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool. So you joined the army. So what originally led you to go to the Special Forces?
Oh, that was a easy one. I tried selection for the SAS Sabre squadrons a couple of times and didn't make those. I always wanted to push myself, coming from a bodybuilding background of being the best, being wanted to be the best, and actually turning out to be a champion at the time. And I want to caveat that you're only as good
Yeah,
as you once were, and only good for that minute on stage at that time.
yeah,
But I always wanted to push myself because that's what you do when you lift weights. You push yourself, and it's a singular sport. Um, and I wanted to push myself into the military, and obviously the SAS, especially after reading Bravo 20, was the pinnacle of things. I hadn't made that, which was, I think it's pretty hard being in the reserves, trying to make that and trying to have the mindset of what you need.
hmm,
Being coming from a background being in the special forces and knowing the mindset you need, it's very rare. So uh, when I uh, joined the regular force in 2003 at 1 battalion, in 2005, the New Zealand SAS was so low in manpower. It's really well known now that they were just about to lose their main role, which is counter-terrorism, and they needed to create a hybrid force of special forces soldiers that did the counter-terrorist role, with the black role, the guys in black doing the Princess Gaiden hostage rescue. And they created a selection for that and a training course for that. And they advertised that. And a few of us from the battalion tried for the selection course. They called it assessment. They were very clear, the Sabre Squadron, that they needed, air quotes, different names.
Yeah.
And fair enough, because they wanted to delineate. And we were a hybrid force. We weren't
Yeah.
SAS Sabre Squadron. And so we did that selection. And I think I was just up at the unit two weeks ago for our 20th reunion of that squadron. I think there was 100 or so tried for the selection. At the end of the selection, there was 26 left to go on the training course. So that's what spurred me on to it. I just wanted to push myself, and really that role in black was it. And it was a fresh new thing, and also really stepping the unknown. Everyone knows in New Zealand Army what, again, air quotes, selection is, but nobody knew what this crazy thing was, and it was pretty wild. And I know of at least one badged operator that would they had to trial the selection out on them, and one badged operator said he didn't want to do that ever again.
Yeah, wow. And so that's really cool to listen to, because I remember talk of this when I was getting out of the army, that they were going to start doing something like this. So being the first sort of ones to trial this and then go into that role, what was that like? Was it still a teething process, or was it formed pretty solid by then?
It was very much a teething process. The people that had the vision of what this hybrid squadron would be, and gosh, honestly, those old school special forces guys, old school SAS guys, they can see everything. They knew what they wanted, they knew what they needed, and they knew what would probably go on in the years. But a lot of teething problems. The training staff, the Sabre Squadron guys, they were super hard on us, and rightly so, because
Hmm.
we are literally the 000, the 111. We're the emergency that the Prime Minister picked up the phone for, and it's on
Mm.
us. And
Yeah.
we're a no fail unit. It can't fail. It has to get done. So teething process, very much teething process on even the logistics of where you're going to get paid, and what's your rank going to be, and what's your progression going to be. Which is a bit geeky for the listeners, but teething process for uh, integrating after we finished the training, which was incredibly hard, and a lot of repetition. It was, where is our place in the unit there? Do the badge guys let go of that CT role? And eventually, that's exactly what happened. We took over that as the primary role, because that's what we did every single day. Kill house,
Yeah.
roping, jumping, all those things over and over and over. And we got very, very good at it. So the teething process was there. And then eventually we're accepted as these guys are actually pretty damn good once they came and integrated with us.
And do you think did D Squadron teach you how to make decisions under pressure a lot more than you already had? Do you think your leadership come from being there?
Oh, definitely. So I'll never forget, and I say this often to friends, the OC, and I won't say his name. He came to us in the Smoko one day. We're at the squadron hangar, just around a big table, all the couches and all the operators, and just says, "I don't give a if you make a mistake, but you got to make a decision. Indecision will get you killed. We can fix a mistake, but make a decision." It wasn't from anybody doing anything wrong. It was just another reiteration of, we make life and death decisions every minute in training. And friends of mine have died of training, unfortunately. You're putting bullets past people's heads, and the decision making is clear. It's yes, no. There's
Hmm.
no there's no maybe. It's like, oh, I think you need to hold up there for a sec, mate, so I can shoot past your head and shoot
Yeah.
the bad guy. It's a yes, no, and it's life and death. And all special forces guys are the people that can learn so quickly that they learn to make that right decision And if they don't, at least you're practicing it and you learn from the mistake and in training and move on. And hopefully it didn't get someone killed.
So you're in that role at the pointy end, and you had all these skills, and then you spent some time in the Western Australian Police Force. Now, understanding the policing around things like that, what was um, I suppose the difference into so that I guess when you're in the special forces, when you get the call, it's you got to be there straight away and deal with it straight
Yeah.
away. Whereas the policing's sort of that step before that happens. How did you find that transition, I suppose?
I found the police really easy and very logical. My first job was Death by Cop, and I've come out of the academy as the guy that won all the awards and probably
Mm.
voted by all the I'll call them the softies as the guy most likely to shoot someone first up. But my first job was Death by Cop, and what I loved
Wow.
was he was the only guy that I was the only guy, sorry, that he would talk to.
Yeah.
I talked to him like a human being because we can step down, Carl. We can step down from that high end, pulling the trigger down to here, to here, to here, and we can read the room. And he would
Yeah.
literally be talking to me. He was crazy, obviously.
Yeah.
He'd be talking to me, and then one of the other cops, and I think it was a female, and then it was a male as well. They both thought they could get in the conversation. They
Yeah.
started talking to me, just turned around like a dog and just went mental. And I said, "Hey, hey, focus on me."
Mm.
So it was easy to step down and then step up,
Yeah.
but I would suggest as a summary, and you know this, you fall back to the level of training, and if all you've ever trained on is level 3, you never go to level 10,
Yeah.
and the police find it very hard to step up. And unfortunately, Carl, they're going to be the first on the scene. The general duties cop was probably the first on the scene at Bondi Beach the other day, and
Yeah.
he's the one that's not the SWAT team, not the special forces guys. So
No.
I wish that police were trained better, but it's a thinking person's job, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And a much more of a bit of an eye opener too, I suppose. And as you're aware, I suppose my theme on this podcast that I'm doing is we interview everyone, we get to know all about them. But the other question I like to ask people is life on the other side of the greed machine. Everybody has a story of how that was when they got in, when they got out. So. What was it? What was it like for you when the military uniform came off initially?
Yeah, a real shock, I'd say. And you're right, everybody does have a different story. You joined at 17, you don't know what a job was before that. I knew what
Mm,
the other jobs were,
correct.
but still, the military was a culture shock then for me because I was like, hang on a sec, I've run my own business here, and now you're yelling at me. But coming out of the unit back over here in Australia was a real sense of loss, and I actually will never forget. I've never said this on a show. I was getting off the bus because I hadn't had a vehicle at that stage to go to my job, my construction job, and I just listened to the radio, and there was a hostage rescue incident on a plane on the tarmac in Christchurch.
Oh wow.
It was a female, it was an African female with a knife on a smaller plane, so it wasn't going to go anywhere, and the police ended up throwing a dog in and eating her. But I literally almost went back on the bus to go back and find a plane to New Zealand because that was my job. So
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
real sense of loss and having to find your feet without all the friends around you, and especially in the special forces group, you all trust each other to such an extent. But the other side, Carl, is that you're also very driven and independent. You can be given jobs as a singleton in that unit, so and you just got to go and do it. So there's a bit of both, but I'd suggest. I haven't heard the other former military members on the show, but it's not easy. It would be a way to sum it up.
yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned for me, my how I sort of felt when I got out was I knew what I used to do, and then I had all these sort of mixed emotions and lost sort of emotions, but at the same time, I wasn't prepared to recontact my mates, that the family that I just left, because I was a little bit embarrassed that I didn't really know what to do on the other side. Um, and then that sort of in turn, pushed me to do other things. And but for yourself, did you have any sort of moments or feelings like that at any sort of stages?
Feelings like not wanting to reach out to other people.
Yeah, not sure about the sort of direction after leaving the military. initially, obviously, you found another sort of a uniform role type thing going into the police force, but how did that eventuate? What made you sort of thought, oh, I might be a police officer?
Yeah, three questions there now.
Mm.
So that's okay. Look, yeah, I'd say you wouldn't. My first thought would not be to reach out to someone for help. That's not
Yeah.
what we do.
Hmm.
I'm not sure when I'm saying we. I'm not saying if we're saying we as a military or we as the mindset of the operators from the unit or so on. Um, but on the other side of that, as soon as someone else reached out, you're just
Yeah.
helping them out as much as you want as you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Um, the the policing, how that happened. If, four of us left the unit and came here. Three went to SASR, and I went into construction to make some money. And I couldn't find my contact. And long story short, I got a hold of the SWAT team here and said, "Can I come and play with you guys?" And they said, "You got to come and become a police officer." So while I was doing the construction job, the police officer application was running through. Then I got straight in, um, and uh, and that's how I fell into policing. It was good money and a fun job and so on. But yeah, I was so busy, I think is the answer as I'm thinking back
Mm.
past 15 years now,
Yeah.
because I've been a fireman for 15 years. I was so busy, Carl, day in, day out policing and doing the other things that I didn't really have time to catch up, which is a bit like a wave just cresting, just pushing, 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 because it sure is how crested if a decade later. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just so busy. And I guess operators on the circuit might be like that too. They're just going, 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 and they don't realize they haven't dealt with all the stuff behind. So a roundabout way of answering your question, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I it's really in hindsight when I look at this stuff now because I know what I was feeling at the time, but it's certainly not what I think about what I was thinking at the time now. And I done a similar thing. At the time I'm thinking all these things and doing these things, it it wasn't really until 10 years later that the impact of all that built up and bottled up stuff and not talking about sort of came out, and you just touched on that when you said it was almost cresting. Are you happy to talk about what you mean by that 10 years later?
Yeah, and thank you. You're really interesting as an interviewer, compared to a lot of those guys, because you have a real comprehension of things behind there. Um, Purpose, identity, and connection are my three things. I think I call it a three-legged stool. You
Yeah,
lose one, it's wobbly. You lose two, it's pretty bad. And you lose three, you're going to put you know, a high-speed lead injection in your mouth.
yeah, yeah,
That's the way it's going to roll, and
yeah,
that's from my guests who have actually, literally had a 45 in their mouth
yeah,
for those reasons. Purpose, identity, and connection, and the purpose was there somewhat. I didn't feel like any of those roles were my true purpose. Um, and I'll come to that maybe if another question or if it comes up and is congruent.
yeah,
But the identity is the issue.
yeah,
You may have seen yourself as I'm not sure your role in the military, but as this uniform guy, and maybe the identity is still there. And then connection, you've got to have the connection with like-minded people. The police weren't like-minded people. There might have been one guy from Gulf War, two that was. The fireys, maybe there's some like-minded people somewhere, but they just don't get you.
yeah,
But you could talk to one of your mates from New Zealand and you're just on the same page straight away. You've got to have those three things. And if you lose those, you're just grasping at straws and it's going to come crashing down somehow into some psychological or mental. I mean, it's a very broad umbrella, mental health
yeah,
crisis or mental health issue, whatever you want to call it. It's going to come crashing down and come out some way. And you've got to then go back and pick up the pieces and try and put that that nice ornament back together that you'd made and try and put them together and be whole again. Um, that would be how I'd look back at it.
yeah,
I love giving people just one step to try and help out with that mental health. Get outside, go for that walk. Say if you know someone else is struggling, just say to them, hey, don't ever say, do you want to talk? Who
yeah,
does that? Just say,
yeah,
hey, we'll grab a cup of coffee. Hey,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
let's go get a feed. Let's go
yeah,
get a brew, whatever. So just one step would be helpful, and then that can hopefully lead on. But I think when it gets to the stage where I was, when it's all broken to pieces, you need some professional help. And I was lucky enough to have Alia or Dr. Alexandrina Bojilova, the psychologist from New Zealand SAS and one of the top psychologists in the world to help me
Yeah,
put some pieces back together. And also speaking our language. A civilian psychologist wouldn't be able to help me and couldn't,
yeah.
versus someone that understands and comprehends the language we speak.
Yeah, yeah. And you raised two very important things that I picked up on that, and it sounds very similar in different ways to my own personal journey. So when I first got out, I'd done a similar thing. I was looking for my tribe, and I was trying on many different suits, and obviously these suits were in risky behavior type things. Trying to find that tribe, and what I found was it was all my chasing, and eventually when I found my purpose, I didn't know it was my purpose until my purpose become greater than myself, if that makes sense. When you start to
Yes.
see the feedback, and that's when you realize, oh, this is it. It wasn't until that happened that all those previous me rushing and trying to do all these different things, that was all learning experiences for those different things that I was doing, but they all were sort of I guess, leading me in the same direction. And you brought up another point with the psychologist side of things. So for me, I just before this interview, I was just talking to my psychologist actually. But however, I've been, seeing them for years and years and years and years. It wasn't until in the last sort of 12 to 18 months that I actually went, okay, I like this person. I'm going to talk to them. So what happened there was prior to me going to all my other psychologist visits were just ticking the box type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when I got a good psychologist, her background was she was a psychologist. She was actually a captain in the Australian military, and she
Yep.
was a psychologist for the special forces and things like that.
Yep.
And now she's a clinical psychologist, and her, I suppose, her views on life were more aligned to mine. So then I felt like I could trust and talk to this person about anything. And then that's where things really started to change, was like you said, when I started feeling comfortable about what I was speaking about. And now here I am asking everybody else about how they feel about things. So I really
Exactly.
appreciate you sharing that with us. Yeah.
You're welcome. And she probably knows one of the guests. I had Mark Matheson on the show. He's one of the former Australian SAS psychologist, and he now does all the reality TV shows. Great people when they can mold their military experience with their clinical experience and put them together, because they're much more well-rounded, versus someone that's just straight down the civilian, domestic violence and all these other sort of routes.
Mm,
And they're really a joy to speak to. And they've got some really, I guess what we're good at in the New Zealand Army, and maybe the army and armies in general, is improvising. The number eight wire Kiwi mentality, or the do the best with what you got where you can mentality. And I'll never forget earlier, all these psychologists have been saying, you got to get a hobby, Damien. You got to do this. There's actually a lot more behind that, but they're just saying, go do this. And she got on, and the first thing she said, and excuse my French, she said, Damien, and she's beautiful,
yeah.
a former Olympic gymnast and great Jamie's wife.
Yeah.
And she says, Damien, you don't need to grow fucking tomatoes. You need to do this, this, and this. And what it was she's saying, it was self-care.
Yeah.
You need to do a thing. So it's nice when you get somebody that's professional that can read the room and go, right now, what's the best way to get Carl to do X? What do I need to give them the tools to go to do and achieve that?
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, that is perfect. And I think for me as well, when you realize someone's from our old tribe, you're like, well, I might listen to this person a little bit more because they seem more familiar with where we came from, I suppose, eh?
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate talking about that stuff. So real world threats, counter-terrorism and hostage rescue experiences. What'd your comments be on that? And what do everyday people misunderstand about violence and threats?
That's a
Do
very
you
relevant
think?
question,
Yeah.
because the Bondi shooting literally happened 2 days ago.
Timing.
And yeah, the London subway stabbing happened 2 weeks ago. Um, what people misunderstand is that it won't happen to them. And if it does happen to them and they get out of it safe and alive, awesome. I don't care how you did it. I
Mm,
don't care if you did everything wrong. If you got out safe and alive, well done.
Yeah.
It'll never happen again, probably, to them. So you need to not put your head in the sand, and you need to actually have a little bit of skill or a little bit of awareness. Now, I'm very passionate on this subject. I wrote I wrote a couple of articles. I wrote an article for Soft Rep on the playground stabbing in France 3 years ago.
Yeah.
There was grandmas and granddads with their little toddlers in the playground, and some Syrian migrant, no, he probably is a migrant, came in and stabbed them. And then I think a few weeks later there was the Auckland shooting in the CBD. He went upstairs to the high rise and had a shotgun and killed a few people in above Deloitte's from memory.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about this, and I thought, right, what can people just do? What could those grandmas and granddads have done against this guy with a knife? Because on the face of it, you're like, well, I can't do anything. And I came down to this: have a look at what's going on. So identify something's happening. There's a weird guy coming towards us with a knife and someone screaming. Turn towards that threat, because you got to turn towards it. You know, your training is the same thing. You got to look at what's going on. You can't turn your head away, which is a normal response. Assess what's going on. Okay, there's a weird guy there. He's stabbing somebody, and then do something. Take action is what I stated. If that's run away, fine. If that's go towards them and do something, that's also fine. But if you don't, if the first thing you do is turn your head away, you're stuffed. So that's no training. And for the listeners and viewers that haven't seen it, there was a guy in Bondi Beach shooting 2 days ago. This bystander tackled a guy with a shotgun. The shotgun was highly likely empty, highly likely to used all his rounds, but he tackled the guy. He made a decision. If he made a decision to dive the other way behind cover, that's a decision as well. But you got to make a decision. So real world events, Carl, they happen, and they are always a surprise. And I can state this from special forces to police to firefighting. When I come across a crash in my car, I'm behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. When I go to a crash in the fire station, I'm putting my gear on, I'm ready to go. I'm ahead of the curve. It will always be a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, Irina, I don't remember her last name, but the woman who was stabbed in the subway 2 months ago in Chicago or Charlotte, in North Carolina and Charlotte. No, nobody in special forces, none of the instructors I've interviewed on the show, none of them could have avoided that, done anything with their special skills, their ninja skills.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have been where she was in the first place. So the other part is you've got to be prepared in some way. You don't walk around on a high alert, but just be a little bit prepared. And literally, if you've watched a video of mine online and it was, you know, take an earbud out or stand with your back to a wall when you're on your phone in a tourist country, that might save your life. And you didn't learn any John Wick things, but you've got to turn and look at what the hell's going on, figure out what's going on, and take some kind of action. Otherwise, you're just going to be a victim. And there were a lot of victims the other day.
Yeah, there was. And I'd imagine too, a lot of people haven't witnessed real life situations. So I've got a question because you're the expert on this sort of thing, and I've witnessed this through my own eyes. But why don't real world situations look like training or the movies?
Yeah, great question. They're so dynamic. You know, I've had come-ons from bad guys, crackheads, all those things, and they're good at their job. If they're doing the mugging type thing, but they don't look like the movies because the movie's not real. But that's all they've ever seen. So when you and I have been through our mass casualty first aid training, it looks like that. That Bondi one, we're going back to that, looked like a mess, but it looked exactly like the mass casualties that we've trained for.
Yeah.
For instance, I've never seen a grand mal seizure until 2 months ago. But the grand mal seizures
I don't
for
even know what it
epilepsy
is.
that we trained on in the first aid, it was exactly like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly like the videos we saw, because I'm sure I've seen videos on it in the first aid training. But it's not like on TV. TV is not real. You have to have some form of training. If you think you do CPR because you watched some doctor show on TV, it ain't going to work.
No.
But if you have some kind of training from a real life thing, mean, you know what a gunshot sounds like when you fire the gun, but you also know what it's like when the crack goes past you.
Mm,
Nobody else would know what that crack is. They think it's fireworks, which they stated as usual
yeah,
from a couple of days ago. So it's not going to look like TV. You will be in shock. No, you'll be surprised because you're not ready, but turn and figure it out. It comes back to those three
mm,
things. I thought a lot when I wrote those articles. You got
yeah,
to turn and look at, okay, what is going on? Oh
yeah.
my God, that guy just had his head blown off beside me. I need to get below this wall and then I need to do something else. So it's not going to look like TV, and you're not ever, listeners and viewers, you're not ever going to be able to become John Wick on the day.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that I picked up from this little conversation about this sort of stuff is awareness seems to be the key.
Yeah.
The first stage is awareness, and then you can do your decision making from there. But if you, like you said, if you don't turn towards a threat, you're not going to be aware of anything.
Exactly. I want to see it
Mm,
before it happens. Um, I won't say who it is for privacy, but a friend of mine messaged me just after that London subway stabbing and asked me to do the video with the chopping board.
yeah.
His daughter was on that train. She got off one stop before, which means she was on the train with the killer.
Wow.
I'm not sure if people died in that. I know he stabbed about 9 people, but she was on the train. Now, I would love it if I could train her in some way that she'd see the weird guy, and she'd get off the train even one stop prior because there's a weird guy
Yeah.
on the train.
Yeah.
But it is awareness. However, sometimes, like yesterday, sorry, the Bondi one, sometimes violence just jumps on you. You haven't seen it, and fair enough. But if you can be aware in some way, and see it before it happens, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And I seen that video you done with the chopping board. It was I watched it. I was like, oh, what a great idea. Probably my brain would have gone to, "Hmm, where would I get a armor plate from or something like that." So,
I know, right?
yeah, just the simple things like that
That went straight in
can
my
change
boy's
it.
backpack after he watched the
Yeah.
video. He,
Oh,
he
it
put it
was
in himself.
yeah. Oh, awesome. I thought it was great. Yeah. So there's an awesome video on Damian's podcast, Instagram channel and podcast channel, I think it is
Yeah.
that video's on. Really great. With the situational awareness, now there's awareness and then there's avoidance. In a dangerous situation, I guess, avoiding's the best option, but avoiding that a situation is happening in the first place can also land you in a bit of strife.
Yeah. How do you mean?
So, some people, well, these days, people like to ignore things because they don't want to
Ah,
accept that something's happening. And
got it.
sometimes they ignore for a bit long and then become a casualty.
Got it. Yep. So very common with females because females, there's fight, flies, freeze, and fawn. I didn't know about this until
Right.
one of
Yeah.
the my guests explained it to me. Fawning is when a female smiles or laughs in the face of danger. Fawning is when a female has a domestic violence situation. They're trying to placate the guy. Fawning is when the female walks past the weirdo
Yeah.
and doesn't do what we do and cross the road.
Mm.
They want to not offend. They want to, not, don't think he's that bad. All the things. It's
Yeah.
normal. Ladies, if you listen to this, I'm not being deprecating in any way. That's normal response. But now you've heard that 1 minute of speech. Don't fawn. So you don't walk past the weird guy. You don't, someone comes up to you and asks you for the time. You don't talk to him. You don't have to talk to anybody. Someone
Mm.
knocks on the door. You don't have to answer it.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So if you put your head down, and I've actually done this to someone walking down our long driveway before. I'm a male. I'm strong looking. These two females are there, and I was going, I wonder if they're going to just look at me and they're like this. So
Mm.
that's just normal, but you need to do a bit better than that.
Yeah.
You need to have a look at who's around and what action do you need to take. Do you need to cross the road? Do you need to go back into the shop? Do you need to stop, pretend to be on your phone while the weirdo walks past you and you're ready to do something? But do something. You've got to be able to see it. If you put your head down and don't look at them, because you that's normal, don't do that. You need to keep an eye on them and have some kind of plan of
Mm.
movement after that.
Yeah. And if you were to give advice to people, what would situational awareness look like on a day-to-day thing? And when would you tell them to run away or act?
Okay. In every confrontation that Tony Blair, a friend and guest on the show, has ever interviewed somebody about, they always they always said, "Oh, something felt off about that person, but I didn't
Mm,
want to. Something didn't feel right, but. So, my advice to people listening, if you ever have that spidey sense that something's not right, it's not.
trust it.
Trust it,
Yeah.
or at least go with it and look like a bit
Mm.
of a weirdo, but you're not going to get into a bad place.
Yeah.
So stop short, cross the road, stop short, go into a shop, stop short, turn around, go back the way you came. You get in, you drive up to the supermarket, you're about to get out of your car, and the car beside you's got a couple of weirdos in it.
Mm.
Lock the door, drive away
Yeah.
to another spot, drive away to another shop. So remove yourself from the situation, but you buggered it up. You got out of the car, you've gone around to the front, and then those two guys open the door. Now you've either got to choose to run away or fight. If you can run into the store, awesome. Run to
Mm.
another person and scream, help me, great. Or if you got to fight, you got to fight and then get away. It's I wouldn't be able to tell people when they need to fight or run, but when you don't run is when they can chase you.
Yeah.
I like to run after I've broken bits of them so they can't
So
chase me
they
ever
can't
again.
chase you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Stop that ability of chasing. Yeah.
yes,
I
not a good
like it.
thing.
And that brings us on to the How Not to Die guy.
Yeah.
So that's the name you've got. You're known publicly as the How Not to Die guy. Where did that name come from, and what does it represent?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking it. That comes back to the purpose. During COVID, it was just happened to be that time. It was nothing relevant to it at all. Um, I'd pushed down the special forces side of me a lot, and interviewing special forces guys like Pat McNamara and John McPhee and a bunch of other people. And yes, John McPhee has got some things going on, but
Yep.
also some good things. They've all used their special forces training experience for other things, like Pat teaches kids how to do things and grown-ups how to do
Mm,
things. And I thought, how can I use my special forces training experience to help others? And I thought, and I've taught unarmed combat, I've taught the TOD system for many years. I thought, okay, well, I'll do these things because locking my door when I get in the car is a normal thing.
yeah.
I'm not paranoid. I just get in the car, lock the door, and I'm done.
Yep.
I've got the car that can go at 200 k's an hour and crush people. So I thought, why not just pass
But
these
no
things
one's going
on?
to open the door to set of lights.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Open the door, set of lights, and I'll just drive through it because I want to get away. But I thought, what can I do that's going to help others know what I do naturally? You know, I wear this. This is a set of flexible handcuffs
Oh,
because I've got the skills to be able to put someone down that's doing a harmful act to someone else. But then what do? You got to
mm,
cuff. You got to control the
yeah.
hands. You can't sit on them.
Yeah.
So what are the things that I do? And I thought, oh, okay. And essentially, I'm teaching people how not to die. You know, locking
Mm,
your door in your car, that's prevented carjackings. That's
yeah.
the worst case.
Mm,
I thought, oh, and then I just sort of came up with how not to die guy. Everybody loved the thing. And it could be from how to use a fire extinguisher to having a chopping board to
yeah.
stop being stabbed to, what happens at road rage to don't charge your phone on a soft surface, and start a fire in your house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
encompassed a lot.
Yeah. It's a really cool name. It's catchy as well. What are the common mistakes people make when they get hurt?
Or when they get hurt
Yeah, when they get hurt. What are the common mistakes they've made and then they get hurt, do you think?
in self-defense
Yeah,
situations.
self-defense situations.
Oh, let's go for the guys because talked about.
Mm,
I think it was really. I didn't say it, but it's probably females more orientated more. We talked about before. Guys is ego.
yeah.
If you want to get in a fight, knock yourself out. Go do that. But if you're going to fight me, ambulance is happening.
Mm,
Somebody's going to end up insanely hurt, or we'll just talk.
yeah.
Guys do this ego thing. So, great friend of mine, Judd Leinhardt in the States, interviewed me in Texas, and he thought there was a difference between self-defense for males and women, males and females. There's not. The woman with the pram and the baby in it, she wants to avoid a fight. You
Mm,
should be the same. You've got
exactly.
skills, Carl, but you don't know what
Mm,
that guy's bringing to the table.
yeah.
You don't know. And I've seen guys pull machetes out of their track pants,
Mm,
long things. You don't know what these
yeah.
bad guys have got. So the common mistakes that males make is ego.
Yeah.
Don't let ego get in the way. If you get a road rage thing, you get out of your car, you're an idiot.
Mm,
Just
Yeah.
drive away. Just walk away. Just get away. And if you can't get away, if the violence is on you, sure, we'll finish it. But no ego. That's not what
Mm.
we want. That's the most common mistake I see. If you're dumb enough to get in a fight, you probably deserve everything you get. But if you're in a self-defense situation, that's not a fight. That's defending yourself with reasonable force to overcome the force used against you.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you're definitely the man who knows about this because you train mums, dads, teens, and elderly as well,
Yeah.
and right up to elite fighters and government agencies.
Yeah, I love teaching those are the elderly and the weak and the bully. They're the ones that bad guys should pick.
Mm.
Well done, bad guy. That's the target. It's not going to pick the jujitsu champion that I trained. She's
That,
amazing. She'll tie me up like a pretzel. I might be able to get a few shots in and maybe stab her, but she's really skilled.
mm.
But no bad guy is ever going to attack this amazing woman. But they'll attack the 84-year-old husband and 82-year-old wife that I trained for a city council. Absolutely. And of course, we want to teach them something they can do. And these things do work for everybody, and it's the right thing at the right time. And then if all else fails and you're in a place where you can carry, you're an 84-year-old granny with a revolver in your handbag,
Mm.
and you're pulling the trigger without even getting out of the handbag. You got tools, and yeah, I love teaching those sorts of people. I really do. The people that need it.
And what skills do you think matter the most for non-fighters?
I think being knowing the difference between a fight and winning with brutal violence.
Yeah.
So I watched a really skilled self-defense teacher on YouTube a while back, and he said, "I won't bother teaching anybody if I don't have it if I have under 2 hours, I won't teach anybody."
Mm.
And I thought that's disgusting
Mm.
because, and I've dealt with a lot of sexual assault victims. So when the guy's on top of you, females and males, it can happen more impaired at W situations. When he's on top of you, it doesn't take much skill to bite his face off. I can teach you to bite
No.
someone's face off and then carry
Mm.
things on in
Yeah.
5 minutes flat. And
Yeah.
some of my Instagram videos, I'll hire models in, I'll teach them in 5 minutes. Sometimes I've seen it in real time. I taught someone how to get out of a headlock in real time. It took 2 minutes and she's gouging the eyes out.
Yeah.
Your question was the difference, or what do they need to learn? They need to learn how to be violent. They need to know how to break someone's leg, bite their face off, rip their eyeball out, do these horrible things to then be able to get away without that person
Yeah.
being able to see or to breathe or to walk after them. And it's
Mm.
pure violence, and it'll take 3 seconds, 5 seconds. And if that means sticking a pin repeatedly in their guts or in their throat, it is what it is, depending on the
Mm.
situation, as long as it's reasonable force to overcome the force being used against you.
Yeah. And that's it. And now a lot of people or people might that are listening could possibly going, oh, that's horrible. I don't want to do that sort of stuff. But on that, why is safe exposure to danger and violence important?
Because just like the first aid, you won't do it. If all you've seen is CPR on Dr. House, I don't know TV, by the way, then you're not going to be able to do it. And if you haven't been exposed to it, so I expose the eye gouging to classes, and it's such fun. So I'll get the person up. I go, we're going to do a nice little eye gouge drill. You know me. You're going to do this thing. You're going to put the fingers in the eyes. And then I say, right, watch, everybody watch. She's going to give me a nose job. She's going to give me a nice little facial. She's going to massage my eyebrows. She'll do everything she can, like gouge my eyes. But
Yeah.
when she does, boom. And that's the moment that she would turn from a normal human that doesn't want to do a act of serious injury or death to another human into somebody that can save her own life. So those people listening, when you say, oh, that's horrible, sticking a pin, stabbing someone, that's horrible, you're going to lose.
Mm.
You will lose.
Yeah.
And that could mean your life. And if you're so sorry for you, Carl, but to the listeners, if you're so ambivalent or so weak that you can't step up to that, what if you lose and someone else gets hurt? Because at that stage, I don't
Exactly.
care about you.
Mm.
If you're not going to save your own life, that's fine. But I don't want other people getting hurt. What about your child? And I can actually sum this up now. There was a female pushing a pram with her twin babies in it
Yeah.
in Padbury in Perth 3 years ago. It was highly publicised. was down a laneway, two fences, and a 17-year-old Aboriginal female running up behind her, grabbed her from behind, yanked her down. The pram's gone up in the air like a
Oh,
wheelie. The babies are, the legs are kicking, and this woman got a bit of a beating.
yeah.
I know that the whole stories behind these things because I used that for my how to protect your toddler and baby workshops. That female contacted me and said, Damien, that's actually my image. Would you consider training me? And my immediate response on email, and I'll never forget the feeling I had, was, I will train you for free for the rest of your life, no questions asked.
Yeah, awesome.
Now, I then met a prison guard that guarded that 17-year-old. That 17-year-old, and also in the victim in the trial, she wanted to go back to jail. So no matter what was happening, that 17-year-old was going to do something.
Yeah.
Now that mum came along to me, and she came along to me pregnant. Those two twins were now toddlers, and she had another. She just had another baby. She's got three babies and pregnant, and she still came
Wow.
along and needed to learn some of these things because she
Wow.
knew she needed it.
Yeah.
And yes, she's a bit fragile, but there was things she could do. The first thing I taught her was what to do when you hear footsteps behind you. This is what you do, and then what to do if the person on top of you has run behind you. And I taught her these things, and I thought that was the epitome of somebody who doesn't want to learn this, but she knew that it was possible.
Yeah. Wow, incredible, eh?
It
Yeah,
was quite
yeah,
quite humbling,
incredible.
to be fair.
Yeah, very humbling. Yeah, incredible. That's yeah, really good insight there, and that's the thing, these little skills that we have could, like you said, you could they save your own life or your toddler's life or somebody
Yep,
else's life. So, and
yep.
the awareness is really important. And if your decision is just to tell somebody else about it, that's better than ignoring it and crossing the road, I suppose, eh?
Exactly. Do something, take some
Mm,
kind of action. Again, back to you asked about how we make decisions. The boss said, listen, I don't care if you make a mistake, we'll fix a mistake, but make a decision because indecision will get you killed.
mm. And any decision's better than no decision at all, isn't it?
Exactly, it is because you're stuck otherwise. And then if it's wrong way, if you've gone the wrong way, we'll fix it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's it. And body and mind. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Back to your body building stuff in your
Sure.
background and men's health and fat loss and discipline. What did bodybuilding teach you in discipline? And what do people get wrong about fat loss?
Bodybuilding got me everything of my life. It got me the discipline to train for special forces. The army did as well. It got me a whole bunch of different things. It was phenomenal, and I'm so glad that I did it. But I do think it's a very selfish and strange. I don't think it's a sport; it's a thing. But the training is phenomenal behind it. Going on stage in little trunks and being orange is a bit weird, to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
um,
But that's pride in yourself. So that's a
yeah,
good thing as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I always went in with the attitude. I didn't have an eating disorder, although I went through that in some stages with dieting when I did it wrong. Um, I went in. Need to look my best, and if I'm my absolute best, and someone else has done steroids for 5 years, or he's 10 years older in training than I have, and he's bigger and whatever, that's not my fault. I can't do anything about that. But I was my best, so
Yeah.
big tick for my own personal self-esteem. Um, so bodybuilding taught me a lot about self-discipline, but also I didn't realize it's actually my meditation, Carl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when psychologist says you got to go meditate, I'm like, well, I've been practicing focusing on something for 39 years of my life.
That's it.
Yeah.
To go to
So
the
that,
gym. Yeah, because that's
yeah,
when you're
exactly. That,
just concentrating on that stuff. I feel the same about a lot of people when they ask me, "How do you meditate? What do you do?" And I couldn't meditate for a long time, and because of my ADHD and the way my brain goes, and I couldn't concentrate for 5 minutes. And
yep.
then I realized when I was doing those boring tasks like mowing the lawns and things like that, that was a form of meditation as well because I was just focused on that task, and that keeps you in the present moment. So it's not necessarily sitting there like a yogi. It's and going to the gym or doing activities, isn't it?
You nailed it. And just going back to the mental health side with that, you're mowing the lawn, you focus on that thing. Maybe it's just tidying things, get some form of control on something. Maybe it's
Mm,
just literally looking at a leaf. I haven't done that. That's one of what one of my buddies does. But it's back to what the SAS sergeant said to me years ago. Um, Live in the now, don't live in the past.
Yeah,
Because anxiety can't live in the now. Anxiety is in the past or the present. So
yeah,
in the past or in the future. It's not in the here and now.
yeah. The fear of the unknown or the getting stuck on old things, isn't it? And why do you think men's health and especially mental health is so hard to talk about these days?
That this this is rough, lads. We're just a bit dumb. We
Yeah.
really are because we don't talk. I mean, Jordan Peterson says males and females handle things two different ways. You and I, Carl, I'll say, Carl, I got this problem. And you go, Damien, try this. I'll go and do that.
Mm.
If you were females, I'd say, I've got this problem. And you and I'd be talking for hours over wines and talking about all the nuances. At the end of it, we do nothing.
Mm.
They are not both of them complete solutions to the problem because you and I didn't talk about it when you just gave me the action step, and the girls didn't take an action after they did all the nuances. So you need a bit of both.
Yeah.
We just don't talk properly. After talking to so many guests on the show that have been through and some are experts at it, and some now teach other people, and some Nick Dunn. He was amazing. He cried through the show for a couple of hours. He's
Mm.
right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Um, we just don't understand, like females do, what we need. What does self care mean? I use that word, it's that term. What the hell is that? For me, it's going for a walk outside. Maybe it's going and getting a bit of nice food, and I actually had to create my own new habit with something. But I'll do self care days, and Nick Goldsmith, a former Royal Marine, actually taught me about it. He said it's just turning up the dials. We turn up the black and white dial in the army. We turn down the grey dial. We
Yeah.
turn down the self care dial. We turn down all these dials. It's just turning those different dials up,
Mm.
and that's what men get wrong because we don't understand it. And you've got to look into it a little bit more, and either for a professional or through someone that you trust that is maybe a bit of a mentor, a bit older, a bit wiser. Um, I mean,
Mm.
interviewing Steve Hansen, I remember we talked about wisdom. He says, listen, Damien, you've got your own wisdom at 52 years old, and I've got my own wisdom at 62 years old, but yours is still wisdom. Um, but learning from people and knowing more than we do, I think men need to learn a bit more.
Yeah, I think when I look back on when I wasn't speaking, I think the two things that got in the way for me was ego and embarrassment.
Yeah.
Is probably why I didn't speak out.
Those are
Um,
tough. Those are tough because that's all within your own head so
mm,
strongly.
mm. But the moment it started to come out, then those two invisible reasons why I wasn't talking about it sort of fell away, and now I'm talking about it on podcasts and with everybody. And if it's done anything, it's improved my healing journey. So it hasn't made things worse; it's improved it. So I think it's being able to speak out is important, and being to be able to be high performance as well. Sleep, stress, nutrition, performance under pressure. Um, how do stress and how does stress and sleep affect your safety and performance?
Coming back to the fat loss question, that ties in, so I can tie them both together.
Oh, perfect.
The things men make mistakes about with fat loss is they'll think it's about exercise. If I go smash a hard run, which is difficult, but still trying to do it, I just get hungry, and so I'll eat the
Mm,
house down. Fat loss is about calories in, calories out. Actually, figure out how much you're eating, and look at your output. And it may not be exact, but it's relative to itself. So my watch might say 12,000 steps. It might be 15,000, might be 2,000, but at
mm,
least it's relative to itself every day on the watch.
yeah.
Um, you need to look at your calories in, your calories out, and have a small deficit. It's down to food for fat loss. You need to lift weights, but if you're sleep and stress, because I taught human nutrition to people for fat loss all the time, and it had a bit of a failure rate, and it was because people's sleep and stress were so ruined. Um,
Mm,
as soon as you get people's sleep right, they tend to lose a few kilos. The sleep is where you recover your hormones, where you repair your body, and the stress side of things. If you're stressed, if you're not managing not managing, if you're not controlling your stress, actively having a stress reduction um, tool like box breathing or whatever else you want to do, or meditation possibly, or supplements like theanine, whatever you need to do, you're going to be overeating, eating the wrong things. You're going to be you're going to lose some muscle. You might not have the motivation to train. So it's just down to the big basic habits of get really good, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, keep that stress appropriate. Because when you're stressed out, coming back to your question about safety, you tend to tunnel vision,
Mm.
tend to tunnel vision in your life and so on. And you might realize that you've forgotten about your wife and your kids and you become a real dick and you're fat. Well, that's not
Yeah.
good. And that's going to be quite stressful in itself. So let's get a grip on that. But if I could give health advice to someone of our age, get your sleep right. And that's super simple to do. Dark room, so a blindfold. Sorry, forget about dark room. Get a blindfold, have a room at 19 degrees, and don't look at screens or Rambo 2 hours before bed.
Yeah, recovery journey. Because I'm a breathwork coach as well, so I teach people how to breathe to take control of their nervous system, really. And what I
Excellent.
found is the majority of people these days are breathing up high in their chest and through their mouth and too many times a minute. So they're actually in fight or flight and they don't even realize, and they're in control of that 20,000 times a day. Actually, they could take control of that with how many breaths we have. And sleep also is another thing I talk about when I'm doing my breathing stuff. And we should be breathing through our nose at night when we're asleep. They've got
Mhm.
tapes and things like that you can get from the chemist these days. But if we're breathing through our mouth at night time and we're snoring, we're not really going into deep REM cycles. So it might feel like we are, but we're not. And that nitric oxide's not getting released around the body to what we talked about. That's where we do all our healing is when we're asleep, and that's where that happens. So even breathing, is because that's my niche, I suppose. That's very important as well, and that was really the ticket for me to stop having so much anxiety and stress and slowing down a lot was from the breath side of things. So,
Completely agree, Carl.
mm,
And when I had in-person clients, I'd put them on a heart rate variability monitor, and immediately then that fight and flight. So for the
mm,
viewers and listeners, it's not somebody just saying, "Oh, you're in fight and flight." It's not a subjective thing. The heart rate variability was
yeah,
proving that you're in that stress response, and the breathing, like you've got the breath work, and the simplest one that I found was box breathing. I can take them out of
mm,
fight and flight for that 2 minutes,
yeah,
and then they learn to do that more and more with the great practices you're doing. It just, if you're in fight and flight, you're in a bad place, and it's a learned response.
mm,
You need to
mm,
train out of that. We're in helicopters going onto a building to fast rope down and do all the crazy stuff,
yeah,
and we're chilled. We're almost asleep. We're breathing slowly. We're ready to go. Run the plan through. Do the breathing, combat breathing, and then you're good to go.
yeah,
Learn from special forces guys because they know what they're doing, and then apply it
mm,
to your life if and when it's relevant.
yeah, yeah. It is amazing stuff. The breath work. Yeah, it was definitely a game changer for me, and learning the different breathing techniques. Like you can do breathing to help you fall asleep. When we're lying there at night and the mind's just going over and over and over. I've got to get up and do this, and I've got to get up and do that. You
Yeah.
can do simple things like breathing through your nose for 5 seconds, hold for seconds, breathe out for 8 seconds. Repeat that 10 times, and I guarantee you, whatever you're thinking about, you would have forgotten, and you'll be seeing all that crazy stuff you see just before you fall asleep. So.
I did that once, and I woke up drooling at I've done about 3 cycles of it. I was drooling. I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing myself sometimes, but yeah, so there's a lot of things that we can do to help ourselves to improve our sleep, and even what we were saying before, I noticed I look at since I learned all this stuff about the nervous system and breathing, I even look at people that have substance abuse problems a bit differently now. I don't look at them as a crackhead or a speed addict. I look at
Yeah,
them as they're running on fight or they're depressed, so they're taking something to get them up into that
totally.
to that green zone, and then they can operate. Or heroin addicts and alcoholics, they're in that fight or flight, so they're taking these downers to get down into that green zone where we're in that where we have control of our nervous system and things like that.
Yeah, so
So.
right. And that's what we learn in police. Yeah, they're in a bad way, they're homeless or whatever's going on, but it always comes from abuse. It always comes from
Mm,
horrible things they went through. So that said, when they're around and they're violent, who don't care about that? But when you're on the other side, if you get a chance to help them, we'll have one outside a store, and I'll go get them a bottle of water, or I'll get them
Yeah.
a bit of a feed, maybe. And the other side of that is actually a little bit of hearts and minds. If they're one of the bad guys around when stuff kicks off, you're gonna have a little bit of leverage there to that you've been the person that's helped them as well.
And it is that getting people out of that fight or flight, because when we're in fight or flight, we're not rest and digest, and I don't mean as in rest and digest food and things like that. We're not even digesting the information that's coming out of that person's mouth in front of us, because we're
Very
in
well
that
said.
that heightened response. So
Very well
it's
said.
to come down to that level, we can even start to listen better and things like that, I guess. But talking about podcasts, you're also the host of Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. So you actually popped up when I was looking about you and doing my research, and then I jumped onto the YouTube when I was doing my research, and I was like, oh God, well, this guy's been around a lot longer than me on the podcast side of things. So it's an honor to have you on, mate. And with that podcast, why did you start the podcast? How did that eventuate? And the feelings, this is a more so personal question from me, how I felt when I started it up. So the feelings that were associated with that, um, and the the honest conversations that you're having, and how it all started, I suppose. Yeah.
So I started with interviewing a buddy of mine in the States, a Green Beret, just talking a bit about his story. And then just went on to meeting other people more and more in the mind space. So professors, world record holders, the
Wow.
muscle space, to psychologists, to athletes. Yeah, I started about 8 or 9 years ago, and I literally say I interview the best people in the world at what they do.
Yeah.
From knights to dames to world record holders that have just done amazing things, and how it feels to be able to share their story and to communicate with them is just an honor. I don't interview I interview in an organic way, a conversational way, and the feedback I've had from the listeners and the viewers is they feel like they're part of the conversation. I'm listening on three fronts. I'm listening to the person's. I'll ask the question. I listen to the guest's response, and then thinking, okay, as they're saying that, what would the listener want to know about their answer? I went back to a couple of your questions and linked them up there because maybe the viewer or the listener was thinking, oh, what did he say about fat loss? Is he going to
Mm,
come back to that?
yeah.
And I try and get it all together from those people. They've all got amazing stories. I've had a couple of people lie to me straight on the show that I've figured out, which is interesting. I've had a lot
Oh,
of people.
wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so you get the odd one there, but
Yeah.
just amazing people really on the show. A lot of them become good friends, and you can just reach out to them anytime, and they reach out to me, and we'll help each other out. So really humbling, an honor, and really expensive. The things I've learned from those people, and knowing them has been amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And all that, everything you said is, you've been doing it 8 years or something. I've been doing it 8 months. So all that sort of stuff you said, all of that resonated with me, and is also the reasons why I do it now as well. I think once I got over the initial, what am I doing being a host, and started getting involved in with the conversations, and being confident in what I do, I suppose, was the turning point. That's when it became really interesting for me, and an honor as well. And you're correct. Everyone I've had on the podcast, I talk to a lot after the podcast as well. So it's about connection as well. So why do you think honest conversations are important right now?
Oh, I think it's food for the soul. They're real, and gosh, it's good to learn from people. I mean, you learn anything. You've always got something that you can learn. Always,
Mm,
even there's probably some fancy quote about it, but the person who thinks they know it all, probably knows the least. But I'm always learning from people, and the ability to chat to reach out to Steve Hansen and get Sir Steve Hansen, Knight, coach of one of the top coaches in the world at the time, for many years, and just have a great chat with him about not much about rugby, which was interesting because I
yeah,
didn't want to talk about rugby with him. I wanted to talk about his life.
yeah,
It was just amazing, and a lot of the time you come away with some amazing feelings and some amazing learnings, and try and apply those to yourself. And I guess the other thing is the classic line of you're the product of the five people you associate with the
Mm,
most.
yeah.
Um, I get to associate with a lot more range of people, so it's nice. It's getting more well-rounded.
Yeah, that's cool. I heard another saying similar to that, five people that you associate with, just yesterday, actually. It was along the lines of you're only, in your immediate circle, you're only three meetings away from meeting whoever you want to meet in the world.
Wow,
Like three
three.
people away. So that whole ripple effect. So you might know someone in your circle that knows someone
Yep.
who knows that person you want to meet, if that makes
Well, it's
sense.
funny you say
Yeah.
that. The Black Hawk Down, the character that Eric Banner played, Hoot, on the movie Black Hawk Down. I
Yep.
was just
Yep.
emailing with him yesterday because one of my friends connected me with him, and he'll be coming on in 2026. So I've always
Yeah.
wanted to
Awesome.
interview him as an example. So you're right.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, wow. And then closing for this podcast, which has been, brilliant. I've really loved hearing about all your stuff. If someone wants to be safer starting today, what's one step they could do?
jump jump on my website. Um, the answer to that is put a file in their brain.
Yeah,
And if that's watching a video, so I had a video about an axe attack in Sydney, and a guy's never paid for anything on my courses, never communicated with me, and he messaged me and said, "Your video saved my life because of this XYZ." And it was a great story, amazing story.
wow. That's
And
so cool.
I get those messages about every 2, 3 weeks. This has saved my life, or this potentially did this. Um, Put a file in your brain by watching something that good people put out. It's not just me. There's tons of good people out there. There's lots of bullshit too, and don't go and do a sport. Don't do jujitsu thinking it's going to save your life.
Yeah,
Learn things that are going to save your life. Put a file in your brain you can access if and when you need it. Um,
yeah,
and there's tons on the Instagram. And that's why I started doing online self defense things, because self defense isn't about trying to be John Wick. Self defense is, this is how to do an eye gouge. This is how to um, deal with someone asking you the time. This is where to look when someone walks past you. Look at their waist so you can see what's in their hands.
mm,
That might save your life.
absolutely. Yeah. And where would people find you if they want to do your work? Would it be Instagram, YouTube, or is it have a series of places you'd
They're
suggest?
all linked, but I think the easiest way is just go to hownottodieguy.com. That'll link back to the Instagram. That'll link back to the YouTube, hownottodieguy.com. And if you, I mean, like Kagan Gill, the F-18 Super Hornet pilot, Top Gun, crashed it, ejected at Mach 1. On the show, he said, "Here's my email." He said he gave it out to everybody. So I'm the same. If
Yeah.
you've got a question that I can help you with, just reach out. It's just me, happy to answer if I can help you. And I've done my job. So happy to.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to say
Yeah,
on the
thank you for,
podcast?
for being
Yeah.
and letting me speak. Thank you to you. It's a big deal for someone like you to put aside your time, to have someone you don't know to come on and to celebrate them like you have. Your question's been amazing, but I want to say thank you for letting me talk about what I do, and I hope that somebody's heard in some way, be it mental health, be it self-defense, some self-care, whatever you need, has helped in some way.
Yeah. And it has been an honor having you on the show, and I really appreciate you giving me your time to talk to me about all this. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really insightful. Um, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and share your experiences, your perspective, and also how strong you are and open about all the conversations we had and the depth that we went into. And I'm really glad and thank you again for coming on the show, Damien.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.